Hey everybody, hope you like the new intro I'm going to use for the Bigfoot videos and use the old intro for the other topics. But this is kind of going to be the third take on this. I'm going to go ahead and take down the other two videos because I've seen some problems that I can't leave show notes for because people aren't reading them. These videos are going up on blogs and message boards and things like that and being scrutinized. And I've realized that I can't explain things in the description box where I say I know, such and such scale is actually not, the way it looks, don't take it into, and don't matter how many times I can say this is just a ballpark figure. I mean, I could be off by, so many inches. People don't pay attention to that. So I'm going to try to make like a for dummies version of it right here. A couple things I got to talk about is, like I said, I can't leave in the description box things because I'll show a picture like this. And while I'm showing the picture, I say I think this thing is 5.5 feet tall. Yet other people complete disregard what I say. They use the picture and make headlines like this. And that's factually untrue. I never said the thing was 4 foot 8 inches tall. So I mean, people don't even watch the video and even pay attention to what's in it, and they just post things like that. And so I've got to address a couple of issues. The first one was, like I said, I know my scale was off because I have a crap program. I'm almost freehanding this thing. But I'm, trying to get, roughly ballpark, and that's why I kept giving such a huge margin of error. And people completely ignored that and post pictures like this. And so they obviously didn't read the description box, didn't take into consideration, the margin of error that I offered, or even pay attention that I said this is not completely accurate because I'm freehanding it. And that's like definitive debunking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change up my format a little bit on how I've displayed the heights. And I wanted to talk about one other thing. The guy in the Monster Quest episode, because that's what I'm talking about here, is in an episode of Monster Quest, they estimated the height of the Sasquatch in the Patterson-Gimlin film to be 7 foot 4 inches. And I think they got that erroneously. I mean, they used two unknown variables, the height of the camera and the distance to the subject. They're just guesses. And when that didn't work out the way they wanted with the camera lens that was documented as being on the camera, they change out the lens till they find one that, comes closer. And instead of saying, well, maybe the distances or heights are wrong, they just automatically change that. And that gives them a height of the creature that is bigger than any other description, offered up by either the people shooting the video or other people that have done analysis on it. And so I am putting forth that you can take a pretty clear shot and measure the foot, since we have footprint casts that measure 14.5 inches long. So we have a actual known number that we can go by. But the guy in the Monster Quest video has responded, or kind of. He hasn't responded, but he's just offered out a dismissal saying that you can't use this type of measuring due to motion blur in the picture. All right, let's look at this picture. So here's the picture. And I'm really not seeing a whole lot of motion blur. I mean, I see more motion blur in the pictures of me than I do in this picture of this Sasquatch. So even with the motion blur, I'm getting pretty accurate results with my pictures of myself. And, but he's saying I can't apply that same strategy to this other photograph, which I think is complete crap. That's a ridiculous argument, and I'm sorry. His theory is just being kicked in the nuts right now. Because the implication of dismissing this on the grounds of motion blur, that means anytime anybody posts an image of this thing and says they can see lip curl, eyebrow raise, finger movement, butt cheek movement, a muscle ripple, anything that they offer can be dismissed as just motion blur. We can dismiss it. If we can't get an accurate, a fairly accurate length off this foot, nobody sees muscle movement, lips curling, finger movements, anything like that. That's all accounted by motion blur. So what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to make a scale and draw little lines, things like that, because like I said, I wish I would have used thinner lines. I didn't like them, because I have a crap program. And so if somebody hooked me up with another program that I can do better with, but I'm still not real good at it, so I'm not even going to attempt. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, copy, and paste the actual foot, and we'll use the actual foot from the picture as the scale. And so we start getting interesting results. And so here we have the picture of the creature once again. Make a copy of the foot, and then continue making copies of the foot and stack them one on top of each other until we build a scale, each one of these feet being 14.5 inches long. So we can make an estimate on this thing's height at approximately 5 foot 6 inches, right about what I estimated the original time. So is that deadly accurate? No, it's still off. We still have a margin of error of several inches, but it's nowhere near the 2 feet being being offered by Bill Munns and being blamed on motion blur. I'm sorry, motion blur is not going to account for 2 feet of error. Not going to happen. I'll give you up to 6 inches, and that's not even close to 7'4". So let's go back to my photos as the control. So now, using the same technique of cropping my foot and stacking it one on top of the other, in all of the photos of me taken with different cameras at different distances, I still come up with just about the same measurement every time. So this is pretty definitive that you can actually take a measurement of the foot and get a fairly accurate description of the height of this thing. This is no way dismissed by motion blur. Even with the blurriness of the photo, I'm able to just, on one try, get a pretty accurate description. And just as a little bonus, this was something I stumbled across on accident. This is for all the people who like to rib me about me being Sasquatch. So here we have a photo of me. And this is the same photo of the Patterson subject. And this is what happens when I take these 2 photos and I scale the Patterson subject's foot to be, a couple inches bigger than mine, since it's supposed to be 14.5 inches and mine's 12 inches. And I scale them and I line the photos up. This is what I get. So this pretty much destroys any argument saying that this couldn't be a human, or that the Patterson subject shows inhuman characteristics or size traits or anything like that. You put a couple of small shoulder pads on me and I'm in that suit. So I am pretty much done talking about the height of this thing. I'm pretty convinced this thing was about 5.5 to 6 foot tall and was nowhere near the 7'4" and it definitely could be a guy in a suit. So I'm going to keep working on it. I'm not going to do any more on the height for quite a while. I'm going to switch to something else. I think I'm pretty satisfied with what I've got here. One of the things I am going to do is I am going to make a set of prosthetic feet so that I can go out and make Bigfoot tracks. Not to hoax people, but I want to see what kind of footprints I leave. And I'm not the only one doing this. Another person that I've come across by the name of Matt Crowley, I'm going to put links below to his YouTube channel, which isn't real active, and to his blog, which is which contains a ton of great information. He's been doing this where he just took a piece of foam and plastic out of the trash that he found in a dumpster, made some Bigfoot feet, and went out and started making tracks just to see what kind of footprints they leave. And lo and behold, these the flexible footprint, that it leaves, since the ball of your foot is moved backwards from where the ball of the large foot should be, it actually leaves a print that resembles a mid-tarsal break. Because the weight distribution is different. And so I found that very interesting because it does tie in with my hypothesis that if you wear something a little bit large on your feet, you do change your walk and you start to exhibit characteristics like what's seen by the subject in the Patterson-Gimlin film. So those two hypotheses are working hand in hand and could be forming a theory. I'm going to put it to the test. I want to make my own set of feet and go out and make tracks. And one of the interesting pictures that I was able to get from Matt was this one that shows the foot. You can see the shape of it, but notice the shape of the track that it left. It's completely different than the outline shape of this flat, flexible foot. It's pretty amazing that it left this print. So I want to do a lot of work on this. It's going to take me some more. So I'm going to have to spend some money to make the type of feet that I want. And so it'll take me a little bit to come up with the cash and everything to do what I'm going to do. But I'll keep everybody updated on it, and hopefully this will be the last video you see on this height issue for quite a while. Take care, everybody.